We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
What's up, dudes? How's it going today? dakblake here, and today we're going to be talking about something else today because I just wanted to do a little sit back, relax, kind of easy video. I just wanted to talk today about, a person that everybody probably knows that you've known in your class. Now, growing up, I always wanted to be the best in school, and, there's always that one guy who just has to one-up everybody. The guy who thinks he knows everything, or, the person who doesn't know everything but just likes to, just beat everybody to things. See, like, when I was a kid, there was a guy named Daniel who I just saw him, and he was just the epitome of what I hated because he beat me in every single thing I wanted to do. And as a kid, I was able to go to the computer lab once I finished my homework. So in like 3rd grade and 4th grade, I would, finish my stuff in class. And if we did, we'd be like, hey, we finished, teacher. And she'd be like, okay, you can go to the computer lab and play on GG, like a program that's just for fun and educational. But she only did that for one person. It was to motivate people to work harder, and then that one person who was doing the best would get to go. And every single day, Daniel would be the one to show up everybody and finish, and I could never beat him. And not only that, there were just like 2 other people named like Rhodey, and I forgot the last one. I'll just say Sarah. But they were always just pompously smart. Now, you could be smart, but then there's pompously smart, because there would be these, like, multiplication tables, be like, oh, 12 times 12, you'd be like, 144, kind of thing. You try to answer as fast as you can. And so, I remember in 3rd grade, my teacher was doing these cards, and whoever had the most cards, could go to lunch early. And I'm talking about, like, 20 minutes early. Well, the rest of the class had to do, the remainder of their, like, workbook things and the word searches. Just literally nothing that improves your education. So she would always beat people and then be like, snarky about it. And so, like, what I hated, though, the most about it is that when you raise your hand to answer a question and you can't answer it because somebody already shouted it out. Now, my little sister literally brought this to me. My little sister is a 4th grader right now, and she's 10. And she's really smart, but she's not pompous smart. She's just like, oh yeah, I know these things. I read it, like, she reads at an 8th grade level. She's like an amazing learner, but in class, she's not the pompous one. And so she tells me how there was this kid in her class who shouts out the answer always. Like, regardless if it's right or wrong, he just always shouts it out. And one day the teacher, like, asked a question, let's just say the 12 times 12 thing again, like, does anybody know what 12 times 12 is? And so my little sister raised her hand, like, oh, I know, it's 144. And then the other kid goes, 144, just shouts it out. And she said that, like, the teacher called on her, but now she feels like she has to say 144, but then sound like she's copying the other kid, like, now that kid gets all the credit. Because if you ever or the second person to answer, it looks like you just copy the other person. Like, what's the answer? 144. It's 144. And so there's always that one kid who's always just trying to be better than you or one-up you. And what I noticed in college, and as people, progress into the educational system, is that they always just try to be as intellectual as possible. And I'm in these film classes and stuff because that's my major. And I'm in critical studies television. We're literally talking about television. And we learn a lot of things about the history and stuff. But there's one kid that I've seen, not like I've seen him, but I've seen a kid like him in every single class. And that is the kid who just likes to ramble on. It's so weird because there's this kid who sits in the front, very, very front, and the teacher will ask a question like, who knows why this scene from the thing is very influential? And the answer is like, oh, because it's a single camera shot and it's different from what they usually do. This kid will raise his hand and be like, well, it's the single camera shot, But you know that back then there were a lot of problems regarding the cost of cameras, so they used single shots. And so back into the 1912s, there are just many people who would say that that wasn't really like the style of the time. But then you would say like, oh, maybe socially they tried to do this. And so after the course of, you know, maybe 20 or so years, when they got more cameras, they would take what they could have, and it's just he just keeps going, and the teacher's just standing there like, all right, is this a statement, a question, an answer? What is this? And it's funny because the kid in the front of the class won't give up. He raises his hand, and he will not put his hand down until the teacher calls on him. And the crazy thing was, he went, I think, 20 minutes in a class holding up his hand. We weren't even talking about the subject anymore. Like, we were talking about, I think, like dramas, sitcoms and stuff, like Lost. Not like, that's not a drama sitcom, but like a dramatic show like Lost. And so he moves on to talking about other TV like shorts and I Love Lucy and all that stuff and the advancement. And the kid was like still raising his hand, and then the teacher was like, all right, what do you have to say? Well, I know how back then you were talking about Lost, so I mean, if you talk about Lost, you gotta think of all the other shows that were out at the time. If you think about Castaway, the Forrest Gump guy, Tom Hanks, he was in that one, and you can see that the development of that one was, you know, very influential, more so than Lost. And it, like, you'll just keep going and going, and there's always that one kid. That's just the moral of the story today. There's always that one kid. The one kid that just tries to be better than everybody. The one kid that just tries to answer all the questions. One kid that just wants to tell his knowledge. And I know you guys probably know a kid who just likes to share his knowledge. Like if the teacher starts talking about like you know, space missions, there's that one kid who's like, oh, I'm super into NASA. Did you know that the Apollo 11 was the first one? And it's like, they just have to share their knowledge. You guys have probably known a lot of people like that, and I kind of want to know all the stories. So if you put down in the comments people that you know that are that one guy, maybe you have a different one, maybe that's one guy that does something else, or the one guy that just like ditches you, or the one friend that you know, is really flaky. I don't know. I like to listen to all your stories. Literally, I read every comment that you guys put, so don't worry, yours is gonna get read. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video and you got a little laughter out of it. Maybe it was kind of familiar to you. So, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, peace out, my dudes.